I'm going to show you how to finish the beads hat. It's worked with a series of 3-needle bind-offs at the top, and there are no decreases at the end of the pattern, so that the beads can stay in pattern up to the very top. So today I'll go through the steps of how to do this finish on the top of the hat. It's not hard, but it is a little bit complicated. So here it is. I've got another hat complete, and the first step is we're here right at the very beginning of the round. Actually, I've got one more stitch to knit, so let me knit that. I'm going to remove this marker because we won't need it now, and then we're going to turn the hat inside out so that we can start doing some 3-needle bind-offs. And when you do that, just be careful not to lose any stitches. Okay, this particular size of the hat is 96 stitches around, and we'll divide that by 4, and that is 24 stitches in each section. Get my yarn ball at the right place. So we're going to do a normal 3-needle bind-off on 24 stitches. So the first 12 stitches on this needle and the first 12 stitches on the back needle. And I'm going to just use a DPN, 1 DPN, to do the knitting, the same size as the other needles. So we'll just do a regular 3-needle bind-off where you stick your needle into the front of each stitch on the parallel needles, knit them together, and then take the first stitch over the second. So that's 1, 11, 12. Okay. Now the next step is we're going to put the next 24 stitches on each needle on stitch tubes or waste yarn. And I'm going to use this quilt binder to hold on to this stitch because the needle will fall out when we're putting those stitches on the stitch tubes. So this little quilt binder is just holding on to that last stitch there. Okay, so I've got these stitch tubes. As I said, you can use waste yarn instead, but we're just going to transfer the next 24 stitches onto the tube. Okay, so right to there. I'll just slip these on. Whoops, and they're going to hang out on this tube for just a little while. We'll come back to them later. So we've got the one side done. Now we'll do it on a separate tube on the other side. Again, 24 stitches. Okay, so we've got 24 on each of those stitch tubes to work later. Now we should have 24 stitches left on this needle. 2, 4, 6. Okay, so we're going to finagle this so there's 12 stitches on each side. Okay, we've got 24 total stitches, 12 on each needle, but we're going to continue the 3-needle bind-off starting at the live stitch that we were holding on to with the binder clip. You could use a progress keeper or a light bulb safety pin for that, but I just chose to use the quilt binder, had it handy. So we'll just continue this 3-needle bind-off. Somehow we came out uneven here, so I'm going to just work all of these together. Okay, so we've got a straight line of bound-off stitches all along there. We'll clip this yarn and run it through the remaining live stitch. I like to leave about 6 or 7 inches. and we just pull that till it's snug, not tight. Okay, so now we've got the 2 sections that are on stitch tubes, and we're going to bind off straight across those. But to do that, again, we're going to do a little bit of finagling with our needles. I'm going to start off with the stitches on the green stitch tube. And we are going to put 12 on one side of the needle and 12 on the other. So we're going to start from this end and go to the middle, and start from that end and go to the middle. So let's see if I can pull my 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Here's where I'm going to split the stitches onto 2 different sections. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, I counted that. I counted the last time too, and was apparently a stitch off. So we may be a stitch off somewhere else too. So my goal on this is to get the needle tips on this end when we do this section. So we've got half of them there. We'll put half on the other side. And then we'll bind this section off using our 3 needle bind off. Okay. So we don't have any yarn attached here, so we'll have to start with a new fresh strand of yarn. And again, we'll use our double point to do the actual knitting. So go into the first stitch on each needle. We'll knit that. And these we don't have to count because we're just going to go to the end of this section. If for some reason you don't come out even in a situation like this, it's really okay. Just knit 2 together on one of the needles, and it is just fine. It will all work out in the end, and you're not ever going to see that. Okay. So we've got the 1 stitch left. And again, while we're working with the other needle, I'm going to just put this quilt binder on that stitch to hold it in place. Then we're going to continue to go all the way across. We'll get all these 24 stitches on the needle, and then we'll move them around so that there's 12 on each needle and that the needle points are here in the center. 2. Ooh. Be careful not to pull that off the end. Okay, there they are where we want them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, so we've got 1 extra on this side. So we'll pull that over to the other side. This is not a real bendable cord, which makes that a little bit more difficult, but there we've got it. Now we'll just 3 needle bind off to the end. Got my yarn in the wrong place here. There we go. Got it straightened out now. Okay, that's our last stitch to be bound off, and then we'll cut this yarn and pull it through the live stitch to secure that point. Okay, so now we've got 4 points. The last thing that we're going to do is fold each end over, and we're going to sew them each to this center point. So we'll fold them all over like that. And all of them but one, actually this has this green yarn, we can use that to sew in. So they'll all end up sewn in kind of like a pinwheel at the top. I will show you that on this hat. See, they're all folded over, and you can stick your finger through them. So each arm of the star gets folded over and connected to the center. So it ends up looking more like petals rather than long arms. So we'll do that real quick. I go through both layers as I'm sewing them in and go around twice. And then we're just going to leave that there till we get all 4 done. And then we'll just tie it off. Fold this one over and then sew it in. And this last one here, I'm going to go up through this point so that I'm sewing the point to the top rather than a little bit lower down on that. Okay, so that lets us end up with 2 strands of yarn each direction, and we're just going to tie those in a square knot or whatever your favorite knot is. We'll just tie them in the center, and then we're going to clip them off with a little bit there. So those ends will remain on the inside of the hat, but that's okay. So the inside of the hat has the 4 petals and the yarn that was tied. And then if we flip it over on the outside, it looks like this. So that's how we finish off the beads hat. Thanks for watching. Bye. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when a new episode comes out. Here's another video I think you'll enjoy.